need a bigger turbo. I need a turbo. Basically brand new. Yo, jeez, like beautiful. I think we've got the winner, yeah. Okay, so stupid skid aside, if you want to upgrade your turbo or put a turbo on your car on a budget, do the research first before just buying something and then regretting it. Yeah, even though it's the cheaper option if you buy it secondhand, if the thing is broken, you're just gonna waste your money, and it's still not cheap. It's still quite expensive, even for a secondhand turbo. So today I'm going to try and help you guys out. So I've got a few turbos here, and I've got a core, and then I can show you what to look for. So this is a few tips when buying a secondhand turbo, because you don't always need to take out all the money to buy a brand new turbo. It is better to buy a new turbo, but it's always so expensive. So here's a few tips. So there's an actual turbo. Okay, this isn't the biggest turbos ever. Quite tiny. This is my old Citroen's turbo, and this is the old turbos that was on the 335i. Okay, so when you look at the turbo, you're not really going to see this part here. This is the part you want to see, but like you see, you've got the housing in the way. So on the pictures the people send you, you're probably just going to see something that looks like that. Now you can't see much on that, and it's normally got an exhaust housing on. I don't have the exhaust housing on because I don't have it on. So when you look at the turbos, you're going to have to try and convince the seller to send you pictures, clear pictures of this inner blade here, of the compressor there. Because if the compressor is broken, you're screwed. It doesn't. If this thing has got scratches on the inside of the housing, it means the bearing, there's movement of the actual compressor. And if there's movement of the compressor, then the bearings are broken. You can just chuck away the turbo. It doesn't mean anything. You don't want it to have any issues like that. So you want to make sure there's no scratches on the inside of the turbo housing. And you want to make sure the compressor wheel itself doesn't have like chips away or weird bends. And that's a big problem. Secondly, you want to look at the turbine here at the back. Same story, you want to make sure it doesn't have any chips away. It has to look nice, clean, smooth. When there's an exhaust housing on, it's more difficult to see, but this one is a bit more clear normally because this is very restricted. You can't see a lot there. But you can normally see quite a bit at the exhaust side. So just make sure it looks fine. So this is the actual inside of the turbo. You're not going to see this, unfortunately. This is something you're not going to see. But it is possible if you go pick it up in person. You can just take the front part of the turbo housing off. It isn't that difficult to take the housings off normally. It's normally like 3 or 4 bolts. Then you can inspect the compressor wheel properly, because you want to make sure you buy quality products. Secondhand does not mean it's not quality. Okay, so you want to make sure that the actual thing does. You want the compressor wheel to look as new as possible. So a chip like that, that's fine. That's balancing. So that's used to make sure that the compressor is just balanced, because you don't want it to be off balance because it spins at very high RPM. So if this thing is unbalanced, you're just going to feck up the bearings inside. Okay. So as soon as that doesn't mean anything bad. And sometimes you'll see some paint, it looks like paint on it. That's just another way of balancing the wheels. Okay, so you just go all around. See, like that paint there, that's just for balancing. That's not bad. If you see an actual bend, I'll put on some pictures of a bad compressor blade. Then you can worry. A blade can go bad over time as well, so you can just buy a new blade. They're not that expensive normally, depending on the turbo. If there's play like this, if there's play to side on this thing, you can chuck it away. You don't want play on the blade, the shaft itself. So if there's shaft play on a turbo, then you know it's fact. You can't fix it, chuck it away, don't buy it. And unfortunately, if you buy online and you don't even like buy sight unseen, you can't test this. You can ask the guy to send a video, but you can always just bullshit this. So that's the only problem with buying sight unseen. So you don't want to buy something that's got lateral play to the side. There's absolutely no movement on this one. So you don't want this to have play. Oh, there's a little bit of play, you can hear, listen. But it's really not a lot of play. So you don't want this thing to be loose. It should be nice and tight. So let's just do a quick checklist. First, compressor wheel. Make sure there's no funny chips or because normally if this does hit the side, you'll see some shiny bits. Almost like on the side there, you see that color there, but on places that it shouldn't have, because this is quite obvious where it was cut. So that's fine. But if it has like pieces of shiny metal that just looks out of place, you'll see it if it looks out of place. Like I said, I'll show a few pictures. So check the compressor wheel. That's the first thing you should check. So ask the guy for photos of the compressor wheel and make sure you can properly see it. If it's crappy photos, ask him to send another one. And if he doesn't want to send proper photos, stay clear from that specific turbo. Look for another one. There's a lot of turbos. And remember what I said just now about shiny pieces on the compressor? Same story on the turbine. Check the back, make sure there's no pieces, because the turbine normally is quite dark. It's because it's in the exhaust housing, so they burn very dark. So if you see any shiny metal on the turbine side, it hit something. This thing itself, it probably shaved on the housing itself, or something came into the exhaust housing, and that means this thing is not going to spin level anymore. It's not going to be perfectly balanced. So if it doesn't have movement yet, it's going to develop movement over time. So that's about the gist of it. Buying second-hand turbos is scary. I don't know if I would recommend it, because like I said, if you buy sight unseen, you can't physically make sure everything is fine on the turbo. You're just looking at pictures, and pictures don't tell the whole story. That's the problem with the pictures. So you can think you've got a perfectly fine turbo, but then it's got some serious problems. And I wouldn't say don't buy second hand, because it's just sometimes you really get good deals. For instance, those two turbos I've got there, there's nothing wrong with them. I just upgraded, so I'm probably going to sell them. There's nothing wrong with them, so whoever gets those turbos are getting a good deal. But if they buy it and they're in a different province to me and I have to ship it to them, they've got no way of testing it themselves. So that's the biggest problem. So if you want to buy second hand, make sure you can go out and check the turbos properly. Open up the front housing and make sure the compressor wheel's fine. Check the exhaust side. Feel if there's any play in the wheels. Check if there's any weird marks on the turbos. Hopefully this helped a little bit, just a bit. Sorry for the stupid video in the beginning. I'll check you guys in the next one. Cheers, eh?